The greatest entrepreneurial adventures take a lot of sleepless nights, a bias for action, and a commitment to people. Starting a professional sports league is no different. As we gear up for the first ever Stars and Stripes Classic, I'm joined by Mike Rabil, the co-founder of the Premier Lacrosse League. Mike and his brother Paul started the league with a vision to put the players at the center of the business model. From better pay to open marketing to benefits and equity in the league, they're redefining how professional sports embraces their athletes. Mike shared the market opportunity he and Paul saw in lacrosse and how they relentlessly pursued investment and support. He explained how giving players equity, access to marketing content, and a seat at the table have created a more inclusive league. And he showed us where the sport's headed with regional affiliation. We also previewed the Stars and Stripes Classic, coming September 2nd to Gillette Stadium, where the bonds between lacrosse and special operations will face off for the very first time. Take a listen, watch, or read our conversation with the business mind behind the PLL. Then head over to our YouTube channel or your favorite podcast platform to catch all the action from the Stars and Stripes Classic. Don't forget to go to greenberetfoundation.org to join the 18 Series Match Challenge and support our team as the Snake Eaters take on the Frogmen. Mike, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast.
I am very honored to be selected to be here. Thank you for being at PLL Connecticut.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Okay, we set this thing up. Danny, Grace, the team brought us in. We're part of the Green Beret Foundation. We have the Stars and Stripes Classic inaugural event, which is your brainchild of yourself, which we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. But they said, hey, we want you to come out to Fairfield, because I live down the street.
Right.
I live in New Canaan. And they said, we'll do some pre-episodes. It'll be awesome. And you're going to be in the Fan Experience Center.
Right.
Well, what they didn't tell me was that we are in the center of the Fan Experience Center at the entrance. And now, because we're in the face of greatness, we've got the crowd.
Man, I didn't really know that we were going to be right in the middle either, but this is kind of great. We got these guys lined up watching you. I mean, it's only right for the official podcast of the Green Berets to be in the middle of what we're doing here at the PLL. Congratulations on your success. I heard that you had Andy Towers on 3 times, by the way.
Andy Towers is the only one who has been on the podcast 3 times.
Incredible.
Okay,
in like that electric.
200 episodes. He's the only one.
Why is that? Is he that good, or is it?
Because when you hear, as you know, when you hear Andy Towers speak, and we talk about leadership on this podcast, we talk about building great organizations. It doesn't matter what, you don't even know what he said. You just jump up and you're like, I got to run through a wall. Someone give me a wall because I'm running.
Well, that says a lot for a former Green Beret to say that about Towers, right? So there must be something special about him for a Green Beret to say that.
He's an influential guy.
Yeah.
So, and we love Andy, and we're getting to meet so much more of the team here. This was your vision.
Yeah.
Your vision back 2018 was, can you create a professional lacrosse organization that's going to have children out here with lacrosse sticks who are looking at their idols one day, like everybody did for the NFL and Major League Baseball, and say, I'm going to be on that field one day. Talk about the vision back in 2018 and the trajectory of the PLL over the last 6 years.
I mean, I'll be honest, it doesn't really take that much vision. It just took a lot of effrontery, because, like you said, the youth was already there, both in the men's and women's side. And then college lacrosse has been booming on the men's and women's side. And frankly, pro lacrosse had been pioneered for 20 years. And so there was this conditioning of the market. We just thought that they took the wrong strategy, and we thought they needed to pay the players more. And so the idea was really like, hey, this market is ripe. It's very similar to the NFL. The starting of the NFL back in the 50s of the AFL, they saw college football booming, right? There wasn't youth participation, but we saw college lacrosse booming. And there was tons of youth participation, so the macro factors were there. It just took a lot of belief in our ability to execute, which is like hard, and a lot of people didn't join, and we're still executing that belief in that vision. But it wasn't like some incredible visionary task. Like, the path was laid. We just had the energy and the belief that we could go do it. And so, credit to the people that came before us, truly, that built pro lacrosse. Like, a lot of MLL owners laid the foundation for us. Some of them have joined us as investors, and truly the players who were playing professional for the last 20 years. And a lot of those guys now have equity in the PLL, and we're honoring them with our pro lacrosse history. So, I'm not just deflecting to be humble, it's the truth. And we're just trying to execute that strategy now.
When you think about, I'm going to start a professional sports league, and then you got to go out and you got to go find investors to do that. What's that conversation?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've been talking a lot about this now. People are starting more and more sports leagues, when Paul and I were doing it, it wasn't a concept. I think that pro sports now is starting to become an arm of Wall Street. There's private equity funds being raised around just specifically investing in sports assets. It reminds me of real estate. I try to follow history a lot, right? Like, it reminds me of real estate in the 60s and 70s. It wasn't an asset class for Wall Street. Now there's REITs and people are investing in commercial real estate to get returns. And so now if you look at sports used to just be for the billionaires, right? You couldn't get access. And now it's democratized. You have more access points. Funds are being raised. You can be an LP in those funds who invest in a pro sports team. The NFL is likely going to let private equity in. All the other big sports leagues in the U.S. have. And so for us, it was really around, we were one of the first to think about, okay, we can go raise private capital. We think that there's a lot of IP and content and media value in owning it all, from the league to all the teams. Do you guys want to be a part of a growing sport where it's been conditioned in the market like I talked about? Yeah. And so now what happens, you fast forward 7-8 years, all these other leagues are trying to start up and they want to talk to me and Paul, and I always get caught in this weird space where I want to be helpful as an entrepreneur, but I'm also like, dude, I slept on a lot of hotel floors, cried, bled a lot, no one showed me the path, and so I'll give you 15 minutes, but that's about it, because it's competitive. There's only so much sponsorship that goes around. There's only so much media rights. There's only so much inventory. The game that's coming up is going to be on ABC. You have to fight hard to keep those slots to get people to view, and so it is competitive. People ask us who our competitors are. I say all the other sports.
Yeah. You talked about owning all aspects of it. One of the unique factors of the PLL is the marketing piece. And the fact that you guys have been open and transparent with the marketing piece. You control all aspects of the marketing team, but you've also made all those marketing resources available to the players. And unlike the NFL, where the NFL owns everything, you can't use a picture, you can't do this, you've opened that up. Why is the marketing piece being controlled but also open so important to the model?
Well, the value is really the players. The players drive value. They're the ones who are creating what people are talking about, why people are watching. And then they don't have access to their own IP coupled with our IP, and then they're not going to be able to market as efficiently to an audience, right? And so I think what we've really tried to do is say, hey, when you're marketing yourself, take our IP, push it out, especially from your channels. At the same time, we'll package it for you. We'll cut highlights, we'll give you access points to it, cut photos from you from professional photographers so it looks premium. We package it. As soon as the game's over, it's sitting there in a digital file for them so they can upload to social. Our social team's even gotten so active that we'll put copy together for them. We just know that now with social media, there's a one-to-one audience, their audience, and ultimately we want them to be communicating as much as they want to, but we want to do the heavy lifting for them. We want them to focus on being the best athletes they can, playing the best game that they can, and if they want to utilize social media to have a conversation, we want them to be able to leverage our IP. We want to package it for them, and all they have to do is press play.
You guys do such a good job with that on social media. I watch it every day, and I try to take tips to incorporate.
You were a long pole defender, right?
So I was.
You were good at hitting people across. You said you had a couple concussions. Hopefully you're good now.
I follow you. Listen.
Yeah, man. I did my research. I know about you. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I was. And I was a football player, and that's how we built the team.
So I did the same thing, a football and long pole.
And they said, hey, we don't have a team. We want to build a team. If you play offensive line and you are remotely faster than others, you're going to play long pole defense.
Yeah.
And just hit guys when they come through the crease. That was the only job I had. Don't touch the ball.
Yeah.
Hit guys when they come through the crease.
Yeah. Now these guys are so fast, it's hard to hit them, right?
No,
They're just dodge, and it's crazy.
Over the last 5 years of the PLL, you had a couple of things were in play. You didn't have regional affiliation for the teams, and you played in neutral venues. Going into year 6, this 2024 season, that's advanced now. You have regional affiliation, and you now are getting into more of a home game, away game type concept. I know that might be out there in the future as well, more defined, and then you have 2 neutral sites. Why make that shift?
Well, you look at the history of sports. We just are trying to study the best sports league, the best sports properties in the world, right? And the common tongue of sports is, where are you from? I root for my local team. And for us to launch with only 6 teams, now we're 8, we didn't want to be overly regionalized. We wanted this tour model to really allow us to spread the country. In a traditional home and away model, you could only, with 6 teams being 6 markets, we're able to get to 15 out of year 1. But as we saw sort of the information, we looked at the data that we were collecting, there was 40% of the fans rooted for the league opposed to their teams. It should be 2%. And so we're like, wow, we did a really good job building this league brand, but we need more people to be stickier to teams. So let's not try to be overly innovative here. Let's try to look at the data And let's go back to common language of how traditional sports teams, where their immediate and best fan funnel is, and that's often local fans. And so we were like, how do we thread the needle and do something where we can still keep flavors of our tour model, because it's super efficient with our capital. It's really great for fans. Like, we're in a neutral site right now, right? And we get to come to Connecticut, and these fans are incredible. But we can still have a home and away model that's combined with our tour-based model. So it allowed for this interesting opportunity for us to still access local, but then be tour and be efficient with what we're doing.
Another unique aspect of the PLL, and we had Coach Nat St. Laurent on a few minutes ago, and I asked him the same question, because you're changing a bit of the way the game is played. The 2-point shot. Whose idea was the 2-point shot?
Oh, it wasn't ours. That was before the MLL. Like, remember, the MLL truly, those guys laid the foundation down, right? Like, there's guys like the founder of New Balance, Jim Davis, and Jake Steinfeld, guys who like really invested heavily, into Rob Hale, the Cannons, Chesapeake Bay Hawks ownership, the Denver Outlaws, which we brought back. Those guys really built pro lacrosse before, and they're the ones who thought of the 2-pointer. And I think the 2-point mark allows more parity, allows for more competition, allows for teams to show the athleticism and the skill of these guys. And so we just brought that forward. I mean, we made a lot of tweaks, but that was theirs. No credit to us on that.
I want to ask about some of the league development. So
sure.
You got the draft. There's salary cap for the teams now. There's minimum salaries. Instituted free agency. We've got training camps now, and you're whittling down from training camp into the 25-man roster and a 21-man active roster, multi-year contracts. So when we look at professionalism and professionalizing the actual operation of the business for the team, it's good. It's becoming to a greater degree every year.
Yeah.
How do you continue to recruit these guys out here, the highest caliber talent, when you talked about the competition that you have with other sports for the resources, but you're also competing for players?
Yeah.
And players who are looking at the NFL going, well, I can make $55 million a year like Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
But the whole team in the PLL only has $735,000 for the year. How do you still bring in the best guys?
Well, it's actually higher than that, but that's good. That's good research. We're close. We're closer to $1 million, but for us, the way we think about it is like, I'm going to walk out of here and I'm going to go spend, the rest of my day talking to our current sponsors and potential sponsors, right? The reason I'm doing that is to drive more revenue to the league. The more revenue we drive to the league, the more we can pay players. And so what we always tell people is that Paul and I and our team, I think we have one of the best sports operating teams in sports. We are laser focused on driving viewership and revenue. And those things, the more we're able to drive viewership, the more people that pay attention and watch, the more revenue we'll capture, and the more the guys are going to make money, right? And so we know that we need to continue to pay the players more. We're already up 5.5, 6x from where they were at the MLL, but we got to keep pushing, right? And so I think that what we say is these are the early days, like the early days of the NFL. The difference is our players all have equity. Each time these guys step on the field, they get 5 stock options. I guarantee you those offensive and defensive linemen of the NFL in the 50s and 60s wish they had some stock options in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And those guys weren't getting paid millions right away. You have to build it. And that's what Paul and I are here to do. We're able to build this thing, right? And so for us, that's what I think about. We also open up access points, right? We have our PLL Play business, which is our youth business. And that's a huge access point for where we take the best players in the world when they're not playing for the PLL, have them coaching, working next generation of youth, and also making a lot more money. So we incorporate our players into brand deals. Like, there's whenever we bring in Gatorade as a sponsor, we bring Whirlpool as a sponsor. Like, we package into those deals ambassadorships with our players. So they're making money on those deals in addition to the league, in addition to their players' salaries. So, we're always thinking about how do we pay our players more. We have a marketing fund that's on top